What's going on, family? What's going on? What's going on? I know it's late, y'all. I know it's late, but I'm here. I made it. I made it. I made it. Y'all, let me tell y'all something. Hold on one second. We got to talk about how this situation is getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and people going deeper down the rabbit hole. So, y'all, I'm gonna play a video for y'all. I'm just gonna go straight into it. Welcome all, welcome all, welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's get straight to business. Let's do it. I'm not wasting no time. I already got my playlist together. I already started the playlist. I'm just gonna play it for y'all. Who is here for the party? Hit a one, because I'm here for it. Y'all, they just cutting up. One, if you here for the party, because these folks, I'm telling y'all, the more I watch this, the more I watch it, the more I'm just like, wow. So we're here now. So we're here now. So I remember our beloved sister Sheila. Sheila told me this. She said, Sister E, she said, this is gonna work against them. I said, how is that? She said, it's gonna work against them. This bill is actively working against their very system. Y'all, let me go ahead and get it cracking. Let me go ahead and get it cracking. So, wait a minute. Here's my little playlist right here. I don't like how they do this new thing. Hold on. My playlist is ICC hits back. So I need to actually retitle this because they do want to criminalize HR. I wish I could retitle this. But the deeper I started looking into this, ICC is striking back because they don't like what's going on. So, y'all, we're going to shift the tides a little bit. Y'all good on shifting the tides? We finna shift it, and I'm finna play what I got right now. Hold on. All right, here we go. Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Let's go.
The ICC says it's aware of the significant public interest in its investigations and that engagement was consistent with its mandate under the Rome Statute, but warned that its independence was undermined when individuals threatened to retaliate against the court or its personnel. It says such threats may constitute an offence against the administration of justice under the Rome Statute. The ICC statement points to Article 70 of the Rome Statute, which deals with offences against the administration of justice, including subsection D, impeding, intimidating, or corruptly influencing an official of the court for the purpose of forcing or persuading the official not to perform or to perform improperly his or her duties, or subsection E, retaliating against an official of the court on account of duties performed by that or another official. The context: Axios this week reporting that a bipartisan group of senators on Wednesday had a virtual meeting with senior officials of the ICC to express their concern about possible arrest warrants being issued for Israeli leaders over the war in Gaza. The Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson on Wednesday released a blistering statement calling the possible warrants disgraceful, baseless, lawless, and illegitimate. Johnson said further that instead of wrongly targeting Israel, the ICC should pursue charges against Iran and its proxies, including Hamas. It is understood that the ICC prosecutor's probe does in fact include investigating the actions of Hamas. Furthermore, Republican senators led by Tom Cotton, Ted Cruz, and Marco Rubio have introduced legislation to sanction ICC officials who investigate or prosecute U.S. troops and officials and allies who do not recognize the authority of the ICC, such as Israel. Additionally, the White House earlier said it didn't support the investigations because it didn't believe the ICC had jurisdiction over alleged crimes committed in the occupied Palestinian territories. Asked if the U.S. administration was engaging the ICC on behalf of Israel, this was the response from Washington's UN envoy this week.
The ICC is an independent organization, and their efforts are being undertaken without any contact or interference by the U.S.
All of this put together is likely what prompted the ICC to issue a statement insisting that all attempts to impede, intimidate, or improperly influence its officials should cease immediately. But no word or confirmation from the court that arrest warrants in relation to the war in Gaza were imminent, amid a great deal of chatter, including from panicked Israeli officials in that regard. Sherwin Ricebees, SABC News, New York.
So, family, the interesting part is now the U.S. used to play a good, strong intimidation tactic. And they would do that to scare other nations from or other international court systems or international the UN, and would scare things like the UN, ICC, because I've heard that they've done this before, and I forgot who they did this with. This was during a time of Trump. I think they did that with Afghanistan. I can't quite remember, and it was never really discussed. But this time they did it, it has hit mainstream so much with the situation going on with TikTok. TikTok is making it very, very, very accessible. They can't control media. They can't control the narrative. That now the ICC, I think, has enough firepower to fight back to say, well, guess what? You can't sanction us and you're not going to sanction us. They not playing with these folks no more. Let me play my next one. I'm going to take my allergy medicine while I work on my next one. Hold on. Go to the playlist. I went there. Hold on. I played that video already. Y'all got 15 minutes because this one going to take 15 minutes. Let me skip. Y'all got 15 minutes? Y'all want to watch this whole 15-minute video? Let me know. Let me know if y'all want to watch the whole 15 minutes. Y'all good with it? They really, I'm telling you, Priscilla, you said keyword, they really putting themselves out there. They're putting themselves in the position to make themselves, U.S. has put themselves in an ugly situation. But I did see a news report this evening as I was coming home that now U.S. is telling Israel back down because we're not going to support you anymore. But we know that's a game. So let's look at it. Yeah, I enjoy stuff like, I ain't gonna say I don't enjoy war. Let me say that. I enjoy watching how this is going. I don't know. I've always been intrigued by things like this. So let's get it cracking. Fair use.
Israel's prime minister says nobody will stop its military actions, not even the International Criminal Court. The ICC is investigating the country's operations in Gaza and the occupied West Bank and could issue warrants for the arrest of Benjamin Netanyahu and other Israeli leaders. He says such a move would be outrageous and set a dangerous precedent. And the foreign minister insists the country will not be deterred and will continue to fight.
The notion that any Israeli government official pay the consequences for their actions has upset Republican senators in the United States so much that they have penned a strongly worded letter to the International Criminal Court. Now, late last month, it was reported that the International Criminal Court was considering issuing arrest warrants for Benjamin Netanyahu, Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, and other senior military officials over war crimes that have been committed in Gaza and also the West Bank. Now, Israel is working through some diplomatic channels. They're playing good cop in order to stop these warrants from being issued. However, the US, or at least certain figures within the United States, have decided to play the role of bad cop and issue threats against the International Criminal Court. And this is coming in the form of a letter penned by Republican senators, and they specifically threatened the ICC chief prosecutor, Karim Khan, in a terse one-page letter obtained exclusively by Zetio and signed by 12 GOP senators, including Tom Cotton of Arkansas, Florida's Marco Rubio, and Ted Cruz of Texas. Khan is informed that any attempt by the ICC to hold Netanyahu and his colleagues to account for their actions in Gaza will be interpreted not only as a threat to Israel's sovereignty, but to the sovereignty of the United States. Oh, that's fascinating. So when the International Criminal Court investigates war crimes committed by other countries, is it questioning the sovereignty of those countries, or is it trying to, maintain international law and maintain, certain rules when it comes to the conduct of militaries in a time of war? Now, those who signed the letter, Cenk, include Mitch McConnell, Marsha Blackburn, Katie Boyd Britt, Ted Budd, Kevin Kramer, Bill Hagerty, Pete Ricketts, and Rick Scott and Tim Scott also signed the letter. There's more.
Pausing here to deliver some honest truth as we do in our news coverage as well. TYT is facing challenges, guys, as the entire industry is. You know who could make the difference? You. If you hit the join button below, it's gonna make all the difference and keep us in business. We appreciate you, thank you. So in the past, we've shown you how a number of people on this list have gotten huge money from AIPAC. And so that's the American Israel PAC. And guys, so I want you to explain the context for you all. So are there awful anti-Semitic tropes in the world? Yes, there are, right? And is one of them, the Jews secretly control everyone and they're the puppet masters, et cetera? Yes, we've shown you right-wingers that even have the tattoo of Soros as the puppet master. And that's a thing that was used back in the 1930s in Germany, et cetera. So those things are real. And if you don't know them, you should know them so that you understand why people are so sensitive about it. But at the same time, AIPAC is going to spend $100 million. And right now they're spending a couple of $1 million through a pro-science PAC to defeat Pramila Jayapal's sister who's running for Congress. Intercept just reported on that. And so as they eliminate anyone who dares to oppose or criticize, simple criticism of a foreign government, you can't then say, you can't say facts about my lobbying efforts because of old anti-Semitic tropes. Well, brother, then we're stuck. What are we supposed to do? Okay, AIPAC is actually purchasing all these politicians. They're not alone. The drug companies and all the other corporations that give donations also purchase them. It's not specific to Jewish people at all, not within 1%. Now, but if you say, do not say those facts, and pretend you don't know why these Republicans are supporting Israel unconditionally, why they're protecting them from war crime charges and attacking the United Nations and talking about ending our cooperation with the whole world because the right-wing leaders of Israel have demanded it. Well, how do I do the news without telling you what's actually happening? Is it because of the AIPAC money? Definitely. If anyone is telling you, oh no, these Republican and Democratic politicians that all took money from AIPAC, and for a lot of the leadership, it's AIPAC is their top donor, then it doesn't influence them. Well, that's just a flat out lie. It definitely influences them. And it is what, otherwise they just did it because, they have such an emotional connection to Israel. They're politicians, they don't have an emotional connection to anything.
Except for their own pockets.
Except for their own pockets.
Let's just keep it real.
So don't say crazy things about ethnic groups or religious groups, et cetera. Having said that, can you accurately state why politicians do what they do, which is lobbyist money? Definitely. So these people are basically raising their hands and saying, as long as you pay me through this lobbying group, I will serve Israel and not America.
How many times do we have to repeat this? How many times does that caveat need to be repeated so we can cover a story the way we would cover any other story or any other conflict involving any other country? I'm serious because I'm getting kind of tired of it.
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, no one here on this show is saying that Jews control everything. No one on this show is anti-Semitic. If you're not an adult and you have difficulty comprehending or absorbing information or criticism against a foreign country, and you want to just label anyone who has criticism against a foreign country as an anti-Semite, then don't watch this show. But we can't keep doing this caveat every time we cover Israel. Come on.
I hear you, but I want to explain the context for everybody, and I want to be careful because those tropes exist. Having said that, guys, Anna's right. Nobody ever says when Egypt gives money to Menendez and the gold bullion in his closet, et cetera. Now there's the stereotypes about Egyptians, which by the way, there are some stereotypes.
Azerbaijan bought Henry Cuellar. He got indicted for it, okay? So yeah, they're moneyed interests representing every foreign country. It's just that when it comes to the Israel lobby, they're much more well-resourced, and yes, they're powerful. And so you literally have a lengthy list of Republican senators who were elected by American citizens, not by Israeli citizens, to represent American citizens, constituents in their state. And instead, they're spending their time writing a strongly worded letter threatening the International Criminal Court on behalf of a foreign country that has carried out war crimes in Gaza. That is what this story is. If that offends you, okay, and you think that's anti-Semitic information to relay to you, then that's your problem.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, that is your problem.
But I don't just say that for the viewers out there. Yes, mainstream, if you don't understand the context, that's why I'm giving you the context. Mainstream media will never mention the AIPAC money in relationship to actual votes in Congress and to actual actions like this, when politicians stand up and go, no, we're for war criminals. America's definitely for war criminals who created the worst atrocities we've seen, some of the worst atrocities we've seen in our lifetime. You have to be totally confused as to why they would do that and why mainstream media would say you're not allowed to talk about their motivations. Okay, so look, let's get to the war crimes because that's what they're covering up here. And it's unbelievably gross, including mass graves and torture.
So the UN conducted an investigation looking into some of the mass graves that were found in Gaza near hospitals that have been pretty much destroyed. And the details are just difficult to read about, but I'm gonna give you the information. So they discovered mass graves with corpses that showed clear signs of abuse and torture. The United Nations Special Procedures released a statement saying, "We are horrified at details emerging from mass graves recently unearthed in the Gaza Strip. Over 390 bodies have been discovered at Nasser and Al-Shifa hospitals, including of women and children, with many reportedly showing signs of torture and summary executions and potential instances of people buried alive." Is it anti-Semitic to state what the UN investigation into these mass graves stated? Are there enough adults in the world who can absorb this accurate information about the atrocities that were committed against innocent people in Gaza, or is that anti-Semitic, Cenk?
No, in all seriousness, I believe that the majority of mainstream media, which by the way has not reported this, as far as I know, cable news has not mentioned this once. But they're very concerned about the safety of some people in America. But when you talk about mass graves, et cetera, why don't they mention this? Because, well, they've been pretending all along that Israel is accidentally killing 24,000 women and children, accidentally doing a Where's Daddy program where they purposely murder their family members, accidentally using snipers to kill children and women. Okay.
Biden is a disgrace, okay? Biden is a full-blown disgrace of a president, of a human being. Okay, all of that nonsense about how he's such a moral and decent person, and he really knows how to connect with voters who have suffered from such severe loss. He's such a great guy. Do you think he mentioned this UN investigation?
Never, no.
He gave a speech today about about anti-Semitism and how we must fight it, which, okay, that's fine, but how about a mention, at least a mention for the Palestinians who are literally buried alive based on this investigation by the UN?
Yeah, and so it was, okay, it was Holocaust Remembrance Day, and that's why Biden only mentioned Israel and the Jewish part. And I get it, and if he mentioned it on the Holocaust Remembrance Day, a whole heap of people would have ripped his head off, okay? And so who are those heap of people? Yeah, some are media, some are donors, et cetera. But brother, you can't say on Holocaust Remembrance Day, never again.
As it's happening now.
And then do an asterisk and go, yeah, but it's okay if it's Palestinians or Muslims. It's not okay. And look, so they use the charges of anti-Semitism 24/7 as a political tool, and it's really gross, right? So, but in reality, if you say 1,200 people killed, 860 civilians on October 7th is terrible, which I hope to God you do say. And then you say 34,500 dead in Gaza, 8,000 buried in the rubble. That's over 42,000 dead. Confirmed 24,000 women and children dead is not a big deal. Their lives are not as important as the 1,200 that were lost.
They don't even get a mention.
Yeah,
they don't even get a mention.
They don't even get a mention.
They don't get
a
mention.
Then don't say never again. Just don't say it. Just say, hey, if you're American or you're Israeli or Jewish or certain religions, Christian, whatever, then never again. But Muslims will kill all day long and no one cares. Biden doesn't care, the media doesn't care. And honestly, the reason I brought up anti-Semitism in this context is because if they're gonna do false charges of anti-Semitism 24/7 for political purposes to defend this foreign government, well, okay, then if you say that the 24,000 women and children dead are not as important as the 860 dead on the Israeli side, you're being overtly racist. You're saying Muslim lives don't matter. Who gives a damn about Muslim women and children? Israel should go into Rafah and massacre more innocent women and children?
Here's some more details.
That's an avowedly racist position.
Yeah, They don't care. Here's some more details from the UN investigation. The treatment of pregnant and lactating women continues to be appalling, with the direct bombardment of hospitals and deliberate denial of access to healthcare facilities by Israeli snipers. They refer to it as deliberate. Combined with the lack of beds and medical resources, placing an estimated 50,000 pregnant Palestinian women and 20,000 newborn babies at unimaginable risk. Over 183 women per day are giving birth without pain relief, while hundreds of babies have died because of a lack of electricity to power incubators. The dreadful conditions have resulted in increases in miscarriages by up to 300%. And understandably, the international community sees reports like this. They see the footage of what Gaza looks like, what the bombardments look like, what the pain and suffering looks like. And the International Criminal Court is understandably considering, arrest warrants for people like Benjamin Netanyahu. And in response to that, in response to all of that slaughter, you have Republican members of our Senate writing to the ICC to say, target Israel and we will target you. Okay, the senators tell ICC Chief Prosecutor Karim Khan, adding that they will sanction your employees and associates and bar you and your families from the United States.
By the way, they never threatened this when the same tribunals were looking into war crimes that America committed potentially in Iraq and Afghanistan. So guys, don't tell me that the AIPAC money isn't relevant when all of a sudden they say the one country you cannot ever sanction is not America, but Israel. And if you dare do it to Israel, we'll go after your family members and sanction them. If you're one of the good guys, human rights experts that are trying to prevent ethnic cleansing and a genocide. If you live outside America, you've got to be wondering, who the hell are we debating? These things are so obvious and the whole world knows them. Why are you guys getting all worked up about things that are so clear? The top human rights experts in the world have all agreed to this. Because here in America, it's wall-to-wall gaslighting. Establishment media and establishment politicians all pretending that Israel is so moral and just and holy, and they had to do all of this, and the goddamn violent, savage Palestinians made them kill the Palestinians.
Right.
I mean, this, and so if you live outside the country, you realize that's lunacy. If you live inside America, this is the propaganda we have to deal with 24/7. And our job here is to deliver the truth to you guys and not the nonsense propaganda the mainstream media is trying to brainwash you with. Thanks for watching The Young Turks. So really.
Hold on, I gotta get Rio. Rio, out of this room. Out. Okay, y'all. I'll tell y'all one good thing. Y'all walking with me because I'm walking and I'm talking because I did not want to let this night pass. And I did fulfill my promises to keep this going. What are y'all's thoughts? So ultimately, I see a situation where the propaganda machine itself that we know as being the machine we call Israel. Not Israel, but the US. I take that back. The US is not working anymore. Hold on one second. The propaganda machine in the US is not working anymore. Here we go. It's not working. And it's time for you to go to bed. Good night. And they don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how to deal with the very machine that we know of that tells you that it's wrong, that, those horrible people over there. It's literal propaganda cannibalism. They're cannibalizing themselves. But what they're doing is isolating themselves as well. Hold on. Real hush. Here's somebody outside. But they don't know how to not keep going. Their arrogance is going to be ultimately their downfall. The arrogance And the way that they have carried themselves is going to be their demise. And the thing is, it's not our fault. It's nobody's fault. It's them. It's them. The thing is, our country, this country is in a bad situation right now. They've fed into a system that right now is being viewed by the world stage as being the bad guy. But for the past couple of decades, they were always the good guy in the scenario. They always played them as if they're the good guy. This is the first time ever in history, where we've seen tables have flipped right now. The narrative has flipped right now. Too much truth is out there right now. TikTok gotta go. TikTok is a problem. I got another one. I'm finna give you. Hold on. I hope I can find it. I can't. I'm gonna look for it in a minute. I want to keep talking, but that propaganda machine is not working right now. And I've never seen y'all. If anybody's ever seen this before, I've never seen this before. Where America and Israel is the bad guy. First, it was all these other countries that were the bad guy. This is the first time ever we've ever seen. This is the first time I've ever seen it like this. Let's see. I got another one. Y'all know I'm a new fan for this.
Thank you.
I'm a new fan of The Hill, y'all. I got something I gotta show y'all. I enjoy The Hill now. I do. I like Democracy now, and I like The Hill. The Hill doing their thing. I'm gonna show y'all something. Oh gosh, come on, let's get past it. All these commercials, Jesus. I'm gonna share. They threatening the ICC. Ain't that something? I ain't never seen this before in my life.
Combating anti-Semitism has been a top priority for both the White House and Congress. President Biden condemned the, quote, ferocious surge in anti-Semitism during a Holocaust remembrance ceremony on Tuesday.
There is no place on any campus in America, any place in America, for anti-Semitism or hate speech or threats of violence of any kind. And my commitment to the safety of the Jewish people, the security of Israel, and its right to exist as an independent Jewish state is ironclad, even when we disagree.
Journalist Michael Tracy described the speech on X, saying, quote, Biden at today's Holocaust remembrance ceremony denounces the anti-Semitic student protests in the strongest terms yet. He recalls there were also anti-Semitic demonstrations and organized riots in Nazi Germany. He proclaims that his defense of Israel will be ironclad. House Speaker Mike Johnson also spoke at the ceremony, where he compared campus protests to what happened at German institutions before World War II.
Those same elite centers of learning, where Jewish faculty and students were suddenly expelled, where anti-Jewish courses were introduced, and where professors performed horrific pseudoscience experiments on Jewish people brought from nearby concentration camps. We remember what happened then, and now today, we are witnessing American universities quickly becoming hostile places for Jewish students and faculty.
Meanwhile, over on Capitol Hill, Republican Representative Don Bacon filed a resolution to censor Representative Ilhan Omar after she suggested that some Jewish students are, quote, pro-genocide. Let's take a listen.
So I actually met a lot of Jewish students that are in the encampment, and I think it is really unfortunate that people don't care about the fact that all Jewish kids should be kept safe and that we should not have to tolerate anti-Semitism or bigotry for all Jewish students, whether they are pro-genocide or anti-genocide.
House Republicans will also be looking at school district leaders from New York City, Berkeley, California, and Montgomery County, Maryland. The leaders of these three school districts will face questioning by members of the House Committee on Education and the Workforce today on their handling of anti-Semitism.
Yeah, so there were a lot of people weighing in on not just Joe Biden's Holocaust Remembrance Day remarks, but also Mike Johnson's, largely because of how inappropriate some members of the Jewish community felt it was to compare what's going on college campuses to the lead up of the Holocaust. Moreover, specifically, Mike Johnson's evocation of Jewish professors and students being rounded up and expelled from universities really is in poor taste, given that we have seen, yes, Jewish professors being arrested and beaten up and dragged off of universities because they are protesting against the war for Palestine. Remember, we talked just last week about Annalise Orlak, a professor who was the Jewish Studies chair at Dartmouth, a woman with gray hair in her 60s or 70s being thrown to the ground and dragged away by the police, not because she's Jewish, but because she has the temerity as a Jewish woman to protest what Israel is doing in her name in Gaza. So for those acts to be basically whitewashed from recent history and completely ignored on Holocaust Remembrance Day, while real violence against Jewish people is used to basically evoke a kind of a fear campaign that's meant for us to not criticize the actions that are being taken against real Jewish Americans today in this moment, was considered to be pretty perverse and got a lot of backlash.
Sure. I don't appreciate Joe Biden in his rhetoric there. He said, okay, anti-Semitism has no place on college campuses. I think that's certainly from a rhetorical
Moral standpoint.
Expressing moral views,
Yeah.
fine. When he starts saying, hate speech has no place on college campuses, okay, but again, hate speech is protected by the First Amendment. We got to be careful here. You're a government official. It starts to go in that direction. I think it is obviously correct for the president to condemn anti-Semitism, but at a time where Congress just considered and passed an act to define anti-Semitism in a way that looks to me like simply just criticisms of Israel, criticisms I don't agree with, but political statements nonetheless, it would have been more reassuring to hear Biden say something not so slippery slope-esque on a criminalization of free speech.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many protesters have to say this, how many groups have to be formed, Jewish Voice for Peace, not in our name. I mean, the point of not in our name is that it's a Jewish-led group that is saying the lesson that we should be taking from the Holocaust is that we are against genocide at any time, especially when our own suffering as a people is being used to weaponized to justify some, the same genre of harm being done to other people. Absolutely not in our name. The takeaway for so many of the Jewish protesters on this campus is that never again isn't just never again for us as Jewish people. It's never again for any community in the world, but particularly not being done on our behalf and in our name. So I thought that was, a fascinating choice. And I think the alignment that you're seeing between someone like Mike Johnson and someone like Joe Biden is really evocative of where the red lines in America actually exist. And as we are defining groups as MAGA, insider, outsider, establishment, anti-establishment, this issue has been, I think, very clarifying as who can really claim to be against the centers of power in the United States of America. I want to ask you what you make of the move to censor Ilhan Omar for the comments that we listened to at the end of the read there.
Well, I don't approve of censoring anyone really in Congress for just expressing a political view. I think that's a bad idea. I've criticized it numerous other times when they've tried to do that. I side with Thomas Massie, the Republican, who has spoken out against making those censures and statements. The reason, however, though, that people like Mike Johnson and to some extent Biden are accusing the protesters of being anti-Semitic or engaging in hate is that they have not sufficiently, their leadership has not sufficiently separated themselves from the goals of Hamas. They won't criticize
But
Hamas.
that's not what she's being criticized for. Specifically, the statement that she's being censored for, or they want her to be censored for, is describing students as being pro-genocide or anti-genocide, Jewish students.
She shouldn't be censored for that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's fascinating, the idea that that would trigger anyone to want to censor her, given how many times various both centrist liberal and centrist Republican figures have called these students Hamas, have called these students terrorists. John Fetterman has, I believe, multiple times referred to student protesters as terrorists. As a sitting senator who very much knows what the powers of state exist in terms of surveillance, FISA, and the lot, to start to crack down on those who are defined as such.
Well, I don't think their rights should be cracked down on, but the leaders of the student protests, many of them do tacitly endorse the actions of Hamas, Students for Justice in Palestine. No, but they're supporting the actions of a terrorist group. No, but that's why they're being described as supportive of terrorism, because they do not condemn Hamas. They say violence and worse is justified against Zionists and Israelis.
Well,
they say that the actions taken on October 7th, right, you say it too, oppressed people have a right to violent resistance.
That's the legal right that they have. Resistance.
That is terrorism. They are terrorists.
Well, no, it's not terrorism.
I'm going to stop right here for a brief second. Now I'm going to let her finish checking them. Yep, she is checking them, Ashonda. Let me finish playing it.
For that, you're expressing support for a terrorist organization.
It's a legal right to resist. That's not. It's explicitly not terrorism under international law.
They defended the actions taken on October 7th as part of.
Robbie, I know that.
I don't care what international law says about it. It is.
We know you don't care about international law, Robbie.
If international law sanctions and supports terrorism, it has no moral weight and should be ignored.
What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is the actions taken by a terrorist group that the leaders of these protests support. And that's why they're being described as anti-Semitic and as terrorists. They support it, so we're calling them out for it. They shouldn't have their free speech rights violated. They should be able to organize and do whatever they want. They can put up encampments as long as humanly possible until it has to go down. I don't support censoring them, but I am perfectly happy for myself, for Joe Biden, for Mike Johnson, for John Fetterman, and anyone else to call them what they are, which is supporting terrorists. So not everyone at the protest, but the leaders of these organizations absolutely do. They say they do. They don't condemn Hamas. We know why they don't, because in their statements, they support the actions Hamas has taken. And that's why no one agrees with them, and they're wildly unpopular. So.
Well, no, I'm not done.
Go ahead.
Bring this back to what we're actually talking about. The question is whether or not there's rank hypocrisy from people on the right for saying they're going to literally censure Ilhan Omar. Remember that the only parties that have been censored in all of this are not the ones that have been sending billions of dollars of your tax money overseas to kill 34,000 people in Gaza, but the people who have been standing up against it. Our two only Muslim members of Congress are the ones who have been targeted repeatedly for standing up for the interests of Palestinian people. That a majority of Americans also support. Over 60% of Americans want an immediate and lasting ceasefire.
But I don't.
And I just let you go for what? Go. 2 or 3 minutes. I was trying to count on my watch, but I didn't start tracking soon enough.
I talked too much. Sorry. Go ahead.
But the question here is whether there's a real asymmetry that again is playing out, where Ilhan Omar, an off-the-cuff statement says, yeah, people have to decide, there's Jewish students on both sides of the equation, pro-genocide and anti-genocide. And you can say that there are people who haven't really clarified their positions, people who are raised to be Zionists, to be told that they have an identity with Israel because of their faith, and who are wrestling through and working it through, who might bristle at the idea of being pushed into being described as pro-genocide. Although, as per my radar yesterday, which I strongly recommend people listen to, while I empathize with the kind of psychological tension and dissonance that can happen for young American Jews as they are wrestling with the kind of what they've been told and how they've been brought up and what they're seeing happening in Gaza and what's being done in their name in Gaza. The reality is, I think that her statement is perfectly accurate. And while as statements like John Fetterman, again, a sitting senator with the power of the state behind him, not just saying, I think someone is kind of pro-Israel, anti-Israel, pro-peace or anti-peace, but literally calling them a terrorist, knowing what can be done to people who are labeled as terrorists in the United States of America, is getting absolutely no cause for censorship for saying the exact same thing, except harsher indictments of American college students. So we'll continue to see this play out. We've seen how FISA has been weaponized. We've seen how the powers of the state have been weaponized. We've seen Columbia faculty member having these direct relationships with the NYPD and with Tel Aviv. And, I suspect we'll continue to see that the book is going to be thrown at these pro-peace activists while people like John Fetterman get away with saying these kinds of comments with impunity.
First, thank you, Andrew, for your super chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, I'm not one to stand for anybody. Let me make this disclaimer because I know Saints will be ready to say, "Oh, Sister E out here pushing." I'm not pushing anything far as denigrating or attacking anybody. I tell people this: let Yah be the judge, and we let Him judge and judge alone. We don't judge anything. We just stand and we give correction where correction is needed, but we as a people do not sit there and call anybody out of their name. Let me make that disclaimer. The reason I'm saying this is the protest. When you look at the semantics or the reasoning for the protest is because innocent children and innocent people are being bombarded. They said they went into Rafah and bombed, and well, not bombed, but they went into Rafah and they're literally massacring children and women in Rafah. Hamas is not in Rafah. If you're looking for Hamas, they're literally going into that area and pillaging. Now the protesters are standing against that. Like, don't go in there killing innocent people. That goes totally against the Geneva Convention. I think that's what they call it, or the ethics when it comes to warfare. There are ethics that were defined amongst the United Nations and how warfare is supposed to transpire. One thing, warfare, you don't bring in the innocent people. You don't go into hospitals. You don't go into schools. I just saw here recently, they said majority of the universities or the schools in Gaza have literally been bombed. So they don't have any more schools. They bombed the hospitals. Let me show you what a terrorist group is. Those are protesters. Let me show you what a terrorist group is. Y'all remember this? 2017? Y'all remember this? 2017. Y'all remember this? Charlottesville.
10 o'clock Friday night, hundreds of white nationalists storming the University of Virginia, protesting plans to remove a statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee. The overnight violence spilling into this morning when marchgoers and counter-protesters clash again, hours before the Unite to Right march was even set to begin. Just after 10:30 a.m., the crowd growing in size. Local and state police in riot gear responding in force, but the violence escalating. Just before noon, Virginia's governor declaring a state of emergency. Just before 2 p.m., the situation taking that deadly turn.
You can see the silver 2010 Dodge Challenger barreling down the hill toward a sea of targets with little time to react, slamming to a stop only after it hit a van and another car. Locked in, that car shifting in reverse, screeching back down the street to get away. One person, a 32-year-old woman, left dead. 19 more rushed to the hospital, 5 in critical condition. The suspected driver, 20-year-old James Alex Fields Jr., is behind bars.
The first response from the White House came not from the president, but the First Lady. She tweeted, "Our country encourages freedom of speech, but let's communicate without hate in our hearts."
We condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence on many sides. On many sides.
Senator Ted Cruz put out his own statement calling the attack a grotesque act of domestic terrorism. Senator John McCain tweeted, "White supremacists aren't patriots, they're traitors."
Racism is evil, and those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly. Now, in the other group also, you had some fine people, but you also had troublemakers. I think if we continue to create jobs at levels that I'm creating jobs, I think that's going to have a tremendously positive impact on race relations. I do.
Now, the difference in that situation is that protest had to actually do with a situation where there was a racist monument in place that people were protesting to say, we finna snatch this monument down. This monument symbolized the essence of the slave trade, slavery, racism, Jim Crow. It that particular moment in time, that was actually combating against racism. But do we have the anti? Oh, wait a minute. So what is the bill? And I can't remember off the top of my head, y'all, because it's late at night and I'm getting sleepy. What's the anti-racist bill that they were trying to push for Black people that they ultimately did not agree on? What is that bill? Somebody put the bill in the comment section. If you know it, it's called the anti-something bill. What is it? I know somebody knows. Come on, hit that chat up. Which bill is that? Oh, come on, y'all. Come on, help me. Help me with my memory. What's my memory? Is just, y'all know my memory is questionable as late as it gets. Why I do late night lives, I don't know. Because the later it get, was it the did the anti-lynch bill go through? But it was another bill because Vicky Dillard was actually talking about this bill here recently. But it didn't go through. Which bill? Yeah, we'll talk about that another day because I want to make sure my facts are correct. I tried. Is it the anti-lynch bill didn't go through? That is racism at its finest. Let's go ahead and pull that up. That's racism at its finest. That's racism at its finest. That's racism at its finest. And we're gonna talk about that because I want to compare apples to oranges, our bills against their bills. This bill made it through the Senate. How long did they go in back and forth about this anti-lynch bill? It was a bill. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. I can't remember the bill because Vicky Dillard was actually talking about this. And I said, wait a minute. And I should have saved it, y'all. Y'all know it's getting late. Y'all know Saints is sleeping a little bit. Just a little bit. Hold on. I'm just going to go look at. I can't remember what bill it is. And y'all, I promise you, my brain has drawn to. I'm so mad at myself right now. I should have wrote that down, but it just dropped in my head about this. I'm so mad right now, y'all. I can't remember. I cannot remember. My brain is fried, y'all. I've been at work all day, but we're gonna talk about it. I'm gonna look at some bills myself and figure out how mainstream did it get, far as racist bills that actually were serious bills that just didn't make it, and they didn't care either. So I'm gonna go in. Y'all know I'm gonna do some digging. Prepare for a digging session tomorrow, and I'll talk about it on Friday. But did this make it through though? I don't think it made it through. We'll talk about it. Let me do my due diligence. Let me do my due diligence before I run my mouth. But I do know that people were saying, if you remember mainstream media, when the whole thing happened with Charlottesville, people were saying, well, both parties were right. You had one side of the aisle that was like, that was a protest. People have a right to protest. Then you have the other side that was saying, well, there were agitators. Did anybody call out racism? Did anybody call out racism? I ain't even too much hear about what happened to some of those people that were involved in it. It just went away. That was an actual racist protest. They did not want to take down that racist monument in Charlottesville. It was a racist, and yeah, I think they did assign that bill. I'm trying to remember, but it was another one that I saw, y'all, that I cannot remember, but we'll look at it later. But if they would have, if let's say people did what they did in reference to saying something anti-Semitic, you would have lost your job. You would have been in jail. You would have been facing all types of criminal proceedings. You would get you'd be done. You would pretty much be done. Your whole life and your whole career be done. How many times did we hear some of the politicians say some racist stuff in the midst of the George Floyd incident, where we actually physically watched a police officer put his whole knee in that man's and choked him to death? The world was divided on that and said that wasn't racist, even though the guy went to jail. But yet the police officer actually went to jail. But yet and still, the world still had a right to speak their mind. There were individuals that did not agree with the sentencing. They felt like George Floyd was on drugs. They felt like, see, they can do us like that. They can do us like that. And that's fine. But let somebody say you're wrong for killing the people in Palestine. They created a whole bill centered around that. And people can lose jobs, can lose family, friends, kicked out of your communities. You can lose everything. Man. But we'll talk about that another time. I'm going to be a little bit more prepared for that conversation, because we really need to go down the rabbit hole. I may pull Pastor Kelly into this conversation, and we go down the rabbit hole and look at how did they treat us in comparison to treating them. Think about the protest. Now, the protest is not against racism itself. It's not what they would consider to be anti-Semitic. It's anti-genocide, and that's all they're saying. They're not speaking against the Jewish community. They're speaking against the acts that's being committed. So let me go to my next one. Are y'all enjoying yourselves? I hope y'all are. Y'all forgive my memory. I have been at work all day, so my brain is literally fried. So let's see. Let me go look it up. This is what let me hold on. Here I go. Let me share. I'm mad because I can't remember the bill. Y'all know my brain right now is just like on 10. But let's look at this. This is what the protest is about. Like, it's not about them. It's not about people in the Israelis. It's not about them. It's about the acts that's being committed on innocent children, innocent women, innocent men. These people are just trying to find somewhere so they can get some rest and be able to eat.
This news has learned CIA Director Bill Burns will travel to Israel on Wednesday for pivotal talks with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu about the ongoing ceasefire negotiations over the war in Gaza. Earlier today, Israel strongly rejected a deal agreed to by Hamas as it moved forward with a controversial military operation in the city of Rafah. We get more now from CBS's Ramy Inocencio.
Flattening this I Love Gaza welcome sign, Israeli tanks took control of the Palestinian side of the Rafah crossing. Along with Kerem Shalom to the east, two of Gaza's most important corridors for aid are now shut. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stressed Hamas's proposal is very far from Israel's core demands. But tonight, more pressure from hostage families for a deal.
They're chanting the names of every single hostage, followed by now, now, now. The fear here is that if the government doesn't approve a ceasefire soon, that an invasion will follow.
My dear son, as your mother, I will never give up on you. I will do whatever I can to bring you back home.
Protest leader Einav Zangoker says her 24-year-old son, Matan, is still a hostage because Netanyahu is opposed to a permanent ceasefire.
My prime minister is not thinking about the Israeli citizens. He's thinking only about his political survival.
Many in Israel believe there should be no deal with Hamas, like far-right ultra-nationalist politician Yitzhak Kreuzer, part of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's fragile coalition. He says instead of sending negotiators to Cairo for talks, the military should come down on Gaza to bring hostages home.
And as ceasefire talks carry on in Cairo, the Pentagon says it's finished construction of that floating pier to boost aid deliveries to Gaza. Weather permitting, it'll be connected to the Gaza shore in the near future. Nora.
Ramy Inocencio, thank you.
The White House might have finally experienced a red line, a genuine red line, because there are all these stories littered across the news today about how the Biden administration has halted weapons shipments to Israel. Now, I want to be clear that this might just be smoke and mirrors. I'll explain why, but first let me give you the details as it's being reported. So, the shipment being prepared for delivery to Israel last week, which has now been halted, included 1,800 2,000-pound bombs. And the Biden administration is reviewing other planned transfers that are not set to ship imminently, a White House official said. That pertains to 6,500 joint direct attack munitions, which convert free fall dumb bombs into precision guided weapons. Now, anonymous White House sources also confirmed in interviews with the Washington Post that the pause in weapons deliveries to Israel is in fact meant to reevaluate our military support for the Israeli Defense Forces after Netanyahu decided to basically invade Rafah against the wishes of the Biden administration. John Hudson writes in the Washington Post, Israel should not launch a major ground invasion in Rafah where more than 1 million people are sheltering with nowhere to go, said a senior administration official. Explaining the US decision to pause the weapons shipments, quote, we are especially focused on the end use of the 2,000-pound bombs and the as we have seen in other parts of Gaza. Now, look, the reason why there's this panic in regard to a ground invasion in Rafah is because of the fact that you have more than 1 million, some reports indicate as many as 1.5 million displaced Palestinians sheltering in this tiny, tiny, tiny stretch of land. And you have to keep in mind, Gaza was already densely populated. Now you have a densely populated region of the world, the population within that region, basically getting displaced into an even smaller stretch of land. And so dropping 2,000-pound bombs in Rafah, doing a ground invasion in Rafah, will take a war that has already seen a disproportionate number of innocent civilians slaughtered and basically put that terrible atrocity on steroids. You're gonna see a lot more innocent people killed. Biden knows, I don't know how immoral Biden finds that, to be quite honest with you, because Biden has stood by Israel regardless of what Israel has wanted to do. But I think Biden has also realized that there are some real political ramifications associated with endless commitment to Israel, regardless of how it carries out this war. So he might be trying to have his cake and eat it too here, because there hasn't really been a final decision made on these weapons.
Are you sick of having issues with your webinars?
Well, still be sent to Israel. This is just a pause. Let's just keep it real. And then not only that, you have to keep in mind that Israel has already been flooded with so many weapons, thanks to the United States, that a simple pause in weapons isn't gonna stop them from invading Rafah. And in fact, I want you to hear from a Likud party official. I'm sure you've heard of her before. Her name is Tal Gottlieb. She had some threats for the United States and Gaza following word that the Biden administration is pausing weapon shipments to Israel. Let's watch.
ארצות הברית מאיימת שהיא לא תיתן לנו טילים מדויקים. וואלה, יש לי חדשות לארצות הברית. יש לנו טילים לא מדויקים. ויש לנו את הזכות להתגונן. אז אולי במקום להשתמש בטיל מדויק ולהוריד חדר ספציפי, או בניין ספציפי, אני אשתמש בטילים הלא מדויקים שלי. ואני פשוט אמוטט 10 בניינים. 10 בניינים. 10 בניינים. זה מה שאני אעשה.
Pausing here to deliver some honest truth as we do in our news coverage as well. TYT is facing challenge.
I'm gonna stop right there for a minute. Y'all, I said this today. I said, if they pause, yeah, and she is, how entitled is she? If they pause sending weaponry over to Israel, don't they already have a lot of weapons anyway? So pausing has no meaning because they already got stuff on deck. They already have stuff on deck. So they're like, okay, y'all can stop it all you want. I think they're trying to do a way where Biden doesn't look like the bad guy, because Biden actually looks like the bad guy times 10. And I used to like old Joe. Old Joe used to make me laugh, but I'm just like, wow. He used to make me laugh. But let's continue on.
Challenges, guys, as the entire industry is. You know who could make the difference? You business. We appreciate you. Thank you.
So for our audio listeners, she threatened to drop bombs and collapse 10 buildings instead of use precision guided munitions as retaliation for the United States doing this pause on the weapons delivery. So she's threatening to kill civilians in Gaza. She's specifically referring to buildings in Gaza that she will intentionally bomb and collapse in order to send the United States and the taxpayers, by the way, who are funding these weapons for Israel, a message. I mean, look, I've said this before, I'm gonna say it again. The thing that really gets under my skin, especially as an American who sees the real pain and suffering that Americans in this country are going through and the neglect that they've experienced by our government, right? When I see this sense of entitlement from other countries about how we must fund their wars or how we must give them weapons, like they are entitled to our taxpayer money, that infuriates me beyond words, okay?
Ding, 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 ding. I'm gonna be honest. If US citizens wasn't as broke as they are now, I'm gonna be brutally honest. Y'all tell me if I'm right or wrong. If US citizens, American citizens, was not as broke as they were now, they probably wouldn't be paying attention to this as much. Probably wouldn't. You've taken jobs. Everything is $1 million. You can buy a gallon of milk and that's $45. Gas is high. Rent and mortgage is high. Insurance is high. Car insurance, health insurance, both of those extremely high when I say insurance. Just the day-to-day basic stuff. We ain't talking about the extras. We're not talking about it costs a lot of money to catch a flight from California to Texas because of, you know, whatever was going on with the airlines. That's extra. I'm going on a trip for fun. I don't need that. But literally the things that you need just to live will cost you. You have to make a decision of, do I want to drive or do I want to eat? That's where we are right now. And you want to sit down and feel like because we are not giving y'all money to do what y'all want to do, we can't help y'all. How? We can't. How? United States light bill due. I'm just gonna say they past due on their light bill. They finna get their lights cut off. I'm talking about the country as a whole. China finna come over and take this mortgage. They finna repo everything. That's just where we are right now. Financially, we are not this country's not in a place to see to anybody. So now they're asking questions. Where's our money going? Where's our money going? Hold on. You don't start paying attention to your money. Think about it, y'all. Just think about you as an individual. I don't start paying attention to everything that I do until my money is low. When I got money, and my friend said, let's go out to eat. And I got a lot of money. Oh, yeah, cool. Let's go. And we ordering food and all that when we go to brunch. Because anybody that knows me know I love brunch. I love a good Sunday brunch. That's just especially living in New York. And when my money is good and me and my friends and all my friends that I grew up with will go to brunch and hang out and get my, have a little mimosas. Let's see, have a little bit of mimosa. So if you walk up on me, I may have a mimosa and a waffle, some chicken. You get what I'm saying? That's just brunch. We doing brunch. And don't nobody sit up here and play like y'all don't have a glass of wine here and there. Don't do it. I ain't got no problem about spending money. I don't mind about looking at the menu and say, you know what? Give me the salmon and the fish over grits, I want that. Give it to me. I ain't thinking about it. That's when I have money. But when my money is short, when my ducats run low, but I got just enough to go to brunch, just enough. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm not paying attention to the ticket when I got money. But when I ain't got no money, I'm paying attention to the ticket and say, who ordered this extra thing? I'm not paying for this. Who ordered this? I'm not getting this. This is on my, because New York got a thing where they call split the bill, meaning if it's 4 people eating, everybody get everything all together and you split the bill 4 ways. And that's how you do it. You split the check. You just got one check. Because most time waitresses don't like to give you 5-6 different checks. But when your money low, I've been there before, and my friends, I'd be like, wait. You ordered 2 appetizers. They go on his bill. I ain't eating none of your appetizers. Oh, I didn't order this. There goes, you pay attention to your money. And that's how the U.S. is now. When we have money, we're not paying attention to the fact that all these bills are going out to support all these different countries. Our tax dollars are going to support Ukraine. Our tax dollars are going to support the war with Israel. We not paying attention to that. We're not paying attention to that. We're not paying attention to it. We just like, go ahead and foot the bill. But when the tax dollars are hurting us, we looking like, wait a minute, you finna pay for whose war? We can't afford that. No, we can't sit. No, wait, hold on. Why y'all send? They've been sending trillions and billions to countries for how long? This ain't brand new. The country's been doing this for decades. They've been sending foreign aid for a long time. They call it foreign aid. We ain't said a word because we living good. We eating good, buying houses. The ability to buy houses. Houses didn't cost $400,000 to buy. You can get a house for $90,000. Cars where you can get good interest rates from the banks. We was gnawed to sleep because we was living good, eating good, enjoying, can be able to go over and travel and go on our little trips. Even when we couldn't go on our trips, we still had enough to maintain our lives, our normal lives. We ain't got that right now. So every single penny that they throwing over the fence to some other country, we try to say, wait, give me that receipt. I want to see wait. What the bill is, when I think of a bill that Congress creates, that's a bill or a check or a receipt that we looking at and saying, wait, hold up, this ain't ours. Ukraine ain't that. Take that off my check. Take that off my bill. That ain't my responsibility. Wait, hold on, Ukraine. We sending them $80 billion and I can't eat? No, that ain't gonna work. Wait a minute. You sending Israel 1.5? Take that off the bill. Wait a minute. Hold on. You sending Taiwan? Wait, take that off the bill. That's what we're doing right now. This debt in this country right now got people ready to stand in the middle of the streets because not only are we financially strapped, the jobs ain't coming the way they used to come. Them jobs ain't hitting like they used to hit. Them jobs ain't bonusing like they used to bonus. Y'all remember, we ain't getting them 20% bonuses and them 15% bonuses and 5% bonuses. We getting zero bonuses. We ain't getting the job that would have paid you $125,000 to do. That job no longer is available. What they've done is fired the whole team that was making 140, 150, 125, 130, and say, I'm gonna fire y'all, and then I'm gonna get some juniors in here, and I can pay them $70,000 and $80,000. So the jobs that the people my age group are looking for, it ain't hitting like it used to hit. So guess what? We're looking at this and saying, how are we footing this bill? Y'all taxing and I'm finna say it, excuse me, saints, I got a cuss word. I can't describe it no other way. Close your ears, Brew Queen. I'm just joking. They taxing the hell out of everybody, not just black folks. And have y'all heard too, there's a new book out that's saying that, we're going to talk about that at a later date, that the U.S. government has overtaxed the black community by I think it's like $600 billion. This recently came out. I mean, everything coming out. Have y'all heard about that? We're going to talk about that another day. It's so much. I told y'all, it's hot right now. It's real hot right now, to the point, and y'all excuse me because my allergies are wearing me out. It to the point that it's just everything is being uncovered. This is the year of truth. If I ain't never seen it before, y'all. Year of truth. Year of truth. So the truth is, we footing everybody's bill. Taxes are high as hell. And when I say so high, to the point you're just like, I'm working just to pay you. That's all I'm doing. You should not be getting 30 to 40% of my check. Folks pissed off about that because they starting to look at it and say, wait a minute. Now, when I was making money, y'all was slipping in 20% here, 30%. I really wasn't paying attention like I should have. But now that I got to count every single coin, penny, dime, nickel, Chuck E. Cheese coin, I got to count everything right now. Guess what I'm going to do? Uncle Sam, why are you getting almost 40% of my check? Wait, hold on. Why are you getting almost 30%? Wait a minute, the state of New York. First, Uncle Sam, from a federal perspective, is hitting me for 20-some-odd% of my check, almost 30% of my check. And then here comes New York and said, I'm going to take a little bit of that money too. What the hell? Heck. I said heck, y'all. I had to catch myself. Where this money going? Where them coins going? Is this guy listen to, he said rent. Rent is high as ever. Y'all, rent is so high right now. Rent is so high. I'm finna move off her for a minute. I don't want to look at her face all right now. Rent is so high right now. Somebody say, how high is it? It is so high right now that people are literally looking at something called shared living spaces. Where they would do here in New York, where people would be roommates. You can have this room, you can have this room, you can have this room, and we split the bill. That's normal New York. We talk about this is becoming normal lifestyles for people. Because at one time, 2-bedroom, I say, let me look back. When I lived in Virginia, I had a 2-bedroom, 2 full bath, an office, a kitchen, a walk-in laundry room, 2 walk-in closets. Now the bathrooms were both 2 full-size bathrooms, not cubby holes, but 2 full-size bathrooms. Cheaper than what I got here. Not because this is New York. New York rent is high anyway. But New York is unreasonably high now. You can't get anything in Manhattan under $4,000 a month. I mean, decent in Manhattan. Under $4,000 in Manhattan. You're doing good if you get something in Manhattan that's $3,000, and that is a hovel. You get more space out of a storage unit for $2,000 than you would if you got something here. That's how bad it is in Manhattan. And now everybody running to Brooklyn, and Brooklyn said, "Oh, so you think you're finna run to Brooklyn? Let me jack this rent up." But see, I don't look at the gentrified areas. I don't mind being around my people. The more you see my people, the cheaper the rent is. As long as y'all ain't breaking in to my place, I'm good. Other than that, I don't mind being around my people. I prefer to be in non-gentrified neighborhoods. I'm just gonna be honest. Gentrification just gets under my skin to the point that I don't even want to be in those environments. But the highly gentrified areas that everybody's trying to run into, it's losing its culture. So it ultimately gives you a fake version of the culture. Like back in the day, New York was known for graffiti. That was just, graffiti art was well known. Now they're playing like the neighborhood has graffiti art, but it's really some art major that decided to do a little spray painting and it's cheesy. It gets on my nerves. But rent is high. That's all I'm saying. Rent is high, and they're running the culture out and trying to mimic the culture that was once there, but then tacking it with an extra $2,000 to the rent. I wish I would. Now let's get on these mortgages. To buy a house now, Generation Z have come to, and all the generations are feeling this right now. Buying a house right now will be the worst decision you could ever make. You know why? Houses right now that look like they probably were, I won't say 200. I give it $200,000 houses max. I say 200 are now running you $400,000 and $500,000. Let's say we come out of this bubble or this situation where they begin to bring rent prices down. Not rent, mortgage prices down, interest rates go down. Let's just say we have a season of that. Everybody who bought those $400,000 houses, guess what's going to happen? They're going to lose money. They're going to lose money. I really believe they'll do something like that. That means I spent $400,000 for a house. In 5 years, that same house is probably going to cost you $200,000 if they decide to do some shady stuff like that. But right now, I'm not spending $400,000. Are you crazy? We have a family house, and we've come to the agreement that the family house stays within the family. We're not selling it. Don't look at us. Black folks are so quick to say, let's sell something. Don't sell it right now in this economy right now. Don't sell it. Because people having a hard time just finding somewhere to lay their head, and they're going to keep raising rent. It's always good to have a place to lay your head that's already paid. Now, what they're going to do, and I definitely know how greedy this government is. That's all they're going to do is raise property taxes. That's all. But at least you can get a little side hustle to cover the property taxes. But yeah, this ain't no game right here. This ain't no game right here. This is real life. If you got property, don't sell it. Keep it because it's ridiculous right now. So they playing yo-yo games with this rent mortgage because the people that consider themselves to be the wealthy, they're coming for you next. Only the 1% want to sustain. They don't want you. They're coming in phases. They're coming for the lower class. They really come for the middle class. But upper middle class thinks they're safe. Upper middle class is next. And upper class, if you're not a part of the 1%, they don't care anything about you. The thing is about 1%, you ain't gonna see them. You ain't gonna see them walking up and down the street. No. The 1% is somewhere an island we ain't never heard of, possibly. So right now, with that being said, all the stuff that's going on, this goes back into my point. That's why people are pissed off about everything that's going on. Because I'm gonna be real honest with y'all. And y'all tell me yes or no what y'all thoughts are. If this economy was not as bad as it was right now, I don't think people would be paying attention to this war. I don't think nobody would be paying attention to this war if we was living good and eating good over here. We'd be looking at TikToks of people setting themselves on fire for just fun. Just for fun. That's what they used to do on TikTok and Vine, like the challenges, eat turpentine challenge. That's what they would be doing on TikTok right now. They really would. Who can eat a Tides pod? That's what they would be looking at right now. They would be paying attention to current events, but right now, because you have our attention, because I don't have no money. I'm trying to figure out what y'all doing with this. Well, we can't make it. I'm paying attention to everything you're doing. I'm paying attention to everything you're doing. So right now, this is interesting. So let me let her finish for a little bit because I'm tired of talking. I need to drink something. I'm losing my voice.
It should infuriate every American beyond words, because that taxpayer money didn't just fall from trees. That is money that we pay into the system that is supposed to improve our lives. I don't know, have you guys experienced your lives improve? Have you experienced your hard-earned taxpayer money being redirected back to your community, to your state, to your country, to make it better for yourself and for your fellow Americans? That is the thing that frustrates me. And then for her to turn around in that angry, entitled tone and threaten to kill more innocent civilians if Israel doesn't get its way is just, but the college protesters are the bad guys, and we need to have endless House hearings about that in order to virtue signal to AIPAC that our members of Congress are fully on board with anything and everything Israel wants. But let's move on, because there are some more details as reported by the Washington Post in regard to the pause in weapons shipments. A second US official who, like others, spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss internal deliberations, described the move as a shot across the bow, intended to underscore to Israel or Israeli leaders the seriousness of US concerns about the offensive in Rafah, where an estimated 1.5 million displaced Palestinians are massed in camps near Gaza's border with Egypt. But again, don't feel too pleased with the Biden administration yet. Let's wait and see how this all really plays out, because there is.
I'm a therapist who goes to therapy, and some people think that's strange. The thing is, though, therapists are human beings, just
is a possibility that they're just going to go ahead and greenlight the weapons shipment after all. And the United States, as I mentioned earlier, has flooded Israel with so many weapons that this pause really has no impact in regard to a ground invasion in Rafah. The Israeli military has enough weapons supplied by the US and other partners to conduct the Rafah operation if it chooses to cast aside US objections. And you have to keep in mind, there are conflicting objectives here when it comes to Joe Biden and Benjamin Netanyahu. Benjamin Netanyahu wants to hold on to power by keeping this war going as long as possible. Biden wants the war to end because it is hurting him electorally with his key voters, with the Democratic base. Also, none of the pauses apply to the billions of dollars in additional Israel aid passed by Congress last month. With regard to that, the Biden administration just approved $827 million worth of weapons and equipment for Israel in the latest tranche of foreign military financing. So in other words, this could very likely be smoke and mirrors, and it could be a more strategic attempt by the Biden administration to garner favor.
Where is the money, LaShondra? That's what I want to say. Have y'all seen that TikTok? Where is the money, LaShondra? That's what I want to say. Where is the money? Y'all said $827 million in aid. Y'all sent billions upon billions of dollars to Ukraine. Not to mention the other smaller nations. Taiwan got a little cut out the deal as well. Where is the money, LaShondra? Have y'all seen that? Hit 1 if you've seen it. Hit 2 if you haven't. Y'all, that is hilarious to me. You have to see Shonda, the TikTok that's cussing in it for those who got sensitive ears. But the guy was like, "Where is the money, LaShondra?" That's how I feel right now. That's how I feel right now. That's how I feel. You gotta look at TikTok. It's a lot of cussing. Some people may not like it because the guy's a little, I'll leave right there. But I saw it in a not a meme, but a GIF, and he played it. Put it like this: the guy did it when Risa Tisa did her thing. But that's how I feel right now. Where is the money, LaShondra? I feel like saying that. That's how I feel right now. They taking that money and packaging it up real pretty and saying, we're not going to give you the weapons, but we still going to send you $800 million. And oh yeah, Ukraine going to send you some money. They funneling money to a war that Ukraine has pretty much lost, from what I'm hearing. Ukraine is doing anything possible to get its male citizens to come back and fight the war. They said they're going to get people that would typically wouldn't fight a war. They making them fight the war. That tells you, because you remember they were spinning a narrative, if y'all remember, just here a year ago that Ukraine was winning. Ukraine is beating the brakes off Russia, and now all of a sudden, since all this stuff going on with Israel, Ukraine is losing. So you got to watch what the media tell you. But yeah, y'all keep funneling that money. I'm gonna keep playing this.
Favor among Democratic voters who have been just absolutely disgusted with how this war has been carried out in Gaza, with the high number of civilian casualties in Gaza, and with the fact that the Biden administration really hasn't used any leverage to get a belligerent Netanyahu under control as he continues to conduct this war in a way that has led to the highest number of civilian casualties as possible. So, with that all in mind, knowing that Israel has more than enough weaponry already to carry out their ground offensive in Rafah, I want you to listen to a very panicky, lunatic in the Senate. This is Senator Lindsey Graham, who is heavily funded by weapons contractors, weapons manufacturers. There isn't a war this man hasn't loved. There isn't a war this man hasn't wanted to fund. And so during a Senate hearing today, he decided to go off on Lloyd Austin and give this insane statement. Let's watch.
This is obscene. It is absurd. Give Israel what they need to fight the war they can't afford to lose. This is Hiroshima and Nagasaki on steroids.
This is Hiroshima and Nagasaki on steroids.
Pause. 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 What the heck? Y'all, the words that are floating through my brain right now, I cannot say them because the mothers of the Hebrew church would call me tomorrow and say, Sister E, what's wrong? Y'all, what's running through my brain right now? Did he really? Y'all, come on now. They lie so much that they believe their own daggum lies. Come on now. Let's play that again. I just want to play this one more time.
Today, he decided to go off on Lloyd Austin and give this insane statement. Let's watch.
This is obscene. It is absurd. Give Israel what they need to fight the war they can't afford to lose. This is Hiroshima and Nagasaki on steroids.
This is Hiroshima and Nagasaki on steroids. That is what Lindsey Graham said during an official Senate hearing today in regard to the Biden administration just briefly pausing weapon shipments to Israel, a country that has been flooded with American-made weapons. I mean, for a long time, but that's been put on steroids. Okay, you want to talk about steroids? That whole weapon shipment process has been put on steroids ever since this current war started on October 7th. Now, Biden is also hoping that a ceasefire will be reached before Israel intensifies its invasion into Rafah. And I want to be clear, the assault on Rafah has already begun. So the news reports, they're like, oh, Biden's hoping that Israel doesn't, do an invasion into Rafah. They've already begun bombing Rafah. There's footage of it. Like, let's not pretend like this hasn't already begun. Yesterday, it was reported that Israel also took control of the Rafah border crossing, which has been an incredibly critical area in which humanitarian aid has entered. It typically enters through the Rafah border crossing, but it's now been shut down since Israel has taken control of it. And as a result, humanitarian aid has come to a crashing halt. All the fuel that entered Gaza went through Rafah crossing, said Jeremy Kondinek.
Vest, tea, air, collective. Voila.
Okay, I'm gonna reshare, and then I'm gonna go ahead and end this. What time is it? It's not really a bad time. I didn't stay up later, but
humanitarian aid has come to a crashing halt. All the fuel that entered Gaza went through Rafah crossing, said Jeremy Kondinek, who is the president of Refugees International. The whole aid operation runs on fuel. So if the fuel is cut off, the humanitarian operation collapses. Water can't be pumped. Lights cannot be kept on in hospitals or whatever remains of hospitals in the Gaza Strip. Vehicles cannot distribute aid. Now, Israel shut the Rafah border crossing and today claimed that they have opened the Kerem Shalom crossing between Israel and the Gaza Strip. Now, I want to be clear, Israel ended up shutting down that border crossing after Hamas targeted it with some strikes. They killed 4 Israeli soldiers. And yeah, that was a stupid move because of course Israel is going to shut down that border crossing in retaliation for that. Now, Israel is claiming that they have since opened that border crossing, but humanitarian aid organizations claim that is not true. Kerem Shalom, a crossing between Israel and the Gaza Strip, was reopened Wednesday, Israel said, but the UN Relief and Works Agency, UNRWA, says that basically it was impassable, right? Palestinian refugees said it was impassable. There were other humanitarian aid organizations who said similar things. And if you look at footage of the humanitarian aid trucks that are just stalled in a long, long line outside of that border crossing, you'll see evidence of what these humanitarian aid organizations are claiming. The World Health Organization said Wednesday that with fuel unable to enter through Rafah, hospitals in southern Gaza only have 3 days of fuel left. Now cut that down to 2 days because that was a statement that they made just yesterday. And so the situation in Gaza has now worsened. Obviously, the very slow trickle of humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip was already a problem. Now it has come to a screeching halt. There is a full-blown famine in the northern half of the Gaza Strip. In fact, Cindy McCain, John McCain's wife, made that clear during an interview over the weekend. And she's not some hippy dippy progressive. She's someone who married a war hawk like John McCain and is absolutely horrified at what she is seeing on the ground in Gaza, including in the north, where there is now a full-blown famine. So those are your updates on what's currently transpiring in Gaza. It's absolutely heartbreaking. And I don't really think that Netanyahu is genuinely interested in engaging in good faith ceasefire talks, because that would mean an end to the war. And an end to the war means having to be confronted with your own constituents who have been very aggressively protesting Benjamin Netanyahu even before this current war began. I mean, with the attempt to disempower the judicial branch of the Israeli government, you had mass protests in Israel. You have Benjamin Netanyahu facing very serious corruption charges. He doesn't want to face that. And he certainly doesn't want to face the consequences of his failure to keep Israelis safe on October 7th. So I think anyone who has fooled themselves into thinking that these ceasefire talks or Israel's participation in these ceasefire talks are actually done in good faith, you just have to wake up to what the motivating factors are for Netanyahu specifically. It's about political power. It's about not wanting to face the consequences for his own actions. And that's really running counter to what is best in releasing the hostages, doing what's right for the Israeli citizens, and also doing what's right to protect as many human lives, civilian lives in the Gaza Strip. So there you have it. That's your update. I also want to just address one thing before we go to break. And I've been debating whether or not I address this. Sorry, I have an eyelash in my eye, it's driving me crazy. Today, it was something I was confronted with yesterday that was so deeply insulting, not just to me, but to my team, the people who work hard every single day to put this show together. So someone who's been a longtime viewer of the show, someone who I've communicated to directly, nice that Anna and Cenk are passionate in defending.
So that's all I want to talk about with that. But y'all see how this is playing out? The world stage is now saying, what are we doing? This doesn't make sense. We asking questions. They don't like for us to ask questions. Y'all asking too many questions. But isn't that the foundation of what they say this country is about? Free speech, being able to speak your mind, be able to ask questions. We don't have to just take it and go with it, because this is not a dictatorship. This is what we call a republic, where you have the ability to a democracy. This is a democracy. I take it back. We live in a democracy where you have the right to challenge your government. You have a right to challenge your leadership. You have a right to challenge your peers. You have that right. They say God-given right as a citizen here to be able to ask those questions. But now, because these questions are impacting the bottom line, citizenship is truly being snatched away from us. So this is definitely an illusion. We, on the other hand, being us melanated individuals, we've been dealing with this for 400 years. This isn't new to us. We know that this is a banana in a tailpipe type country. They tell you one thing and do another. So we not shocked. But they are shocked. They like, how dare you? That's why I really believe that's why Black people are just not running to the rallies. They like, okay, they've been doing us for like this for a long time. Not saying it's right, but we make the best with what we got in front of us. So we just be like, I just ain't got the time. I ain't got the time. I got bills to pay. Landlord ain't slowed up. Mortgage company ain't slowed up. Car finance banks ain't slowed up on getting that car payment. Car insurance ain't slowed. Ain't none of that slowed up. So we got to keep going. We gotta get to work, clock in, do what we're supposed to do, and then go home. I mean, we're involved, but we're not as involved. Like, I mean, and I'm not taking anything away from what's going on over there, but it's just like freedom of speech. We had no earthly idea what true freedom of speech was in this country for us. It's only freedom of speech when it benefits the other party. But now they all arguing amongst each other. Yep, it's an illusion. It's an illusion. It's a matrix. It's a matrix, y'all. So common sense ain't so common anymore. Yes. Yeah, I'm getting ready to go to bed. I hope y'all have enjoyed it. I'm trying to keep these lives down to maybe an hour and 45 minutes and then come back and talk some more. We got time. We got time. Understand the way things are looking, it's gonna always be something for us to talk about. So I'm going to bed, Saints. I gotta get up bright and early in the morning. I gotta get up at 7 o'clock. So y'all keep us lifted. If you want to support the channel, here are my Cash App details. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. I am sleepy. It's obvious that I'm sleepy. It's obvious I'm sleepy, but I can't find it. Oh, here it is. You want to support? Here are my details. But I thank y'all so much. I'm getting ready to go to bed. Praise y'all for y'all. Thank y'all for supporting me. Thank y'all for continually supporting me. Hit that like button. Let's keep these like buttons. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. Let's keep that energy. Thank y'all so much for hitting the like button on the last video. I would love to see my like buttons go up to like 500-600. I may have 3,000 people watching me, and I want to see them like buttons go up so I can see who liking what I'm saying. So, but make sure y'all hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, share the video so we can get more people involved. And apologies for being late today, but I had to take care of some family business. Not my family. It was something else going on with my friends. And they pulled me into a phone conversation and asked me what my thoughts were. So, but y'all, I apologize. Well, I'm going to go to bed because I'm yawning, and I think that's rude for me to do that, and I apologize. Y'all, thank y'all so much for joining me. Thank y'all so much for supporting me. Thank you so much for your super chat. Andrew, thank you. Andrew, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the super chat. I surely do appreciate it. I think that's it. That's all I got. Peace and love. Good night, family. I'll see y'all later on this week.